Hi, guys. Welcome back. Today, I have Jesse Stanton with me today. Hi, Jesse.
Hey, Shauna, how are you? It's so wonderful to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show.
Of
Jesse's from
course.
Idaho Falls, and he currently lives in Wasilla, Alaska. Wow.
Regrettably.
Oh, really? Oh. He's a performance coach and a life coach with the growth company. And he's also what I like to call an OG in the Subto community. That stands for original gangsta.
I love that. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. This is Alaska's okay. Honestly, the hardest part about living in Alaska is it's not the winters. Like it's not the weather during the winters. Like I think Idaho Falls has worse winters, but it's the freaking darkness, man. Oh my gosh. That is the killer.
Yeah.
That is what you don't get in Idaho. So that's the hard part. 6 months of darkness is a little difficult.
But and then you have like 6
here.
months of daylight, right?
Yeah, and that's the most amazing part. As soon as you're like, yeah, we get 6 months of daylight. And it's the neatest thing, being able to go out and either go fishing or go hunting or go four-wheeler riding or whatever you mow your lawn at 1 a.m. And it's the trippiest thing. It's the craziest thing. It's still light outside and you're out doing all these things. Wow. It's a very interesting experience. But from a business perspective, it's almost like trying to build a business from Mars. There aren't a whole lot of resources and people up here doing what you want to be doing. So you got to learn to be virtual in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Thank goodness for Zoom and all that, right?
Oh, right. Thank goodness for COVID.
Does it ever get like warm up there, like swimming weather?
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. But your perception and my perception of what that temperature looks like might vary a little bit. When we have what's called breakup season, and during breakup season, that's what everybody else would acknowledge as spring. But during breakup season, that's when all the ice and all the snow melts, and that's why they call it breakup season. And when the temperature gets up, I say up to like 50 degrees, like everybody, like that's hot. Like people have their air conditioning in their car on. I mean, the equivalent, once they hit 70 degrees, Shauna, like it's the equivalent of like, 120 degrees for people who live down in Phoenix. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, it's 70 degrees outside today. It's so hot. We're going swimming in the lake or the river or whatever.
Yeah. So I live on the East Coast and I'm in Maryland and we're near the Chesapeake Bay. So it's like when it gets hot here, it's humid.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Yeah. Interesting. You know what's really interesting? Alaska is right there, on the ocean, and it is dry. I even read a statistic somewhere. I didn't really like do any research beyond seeing this, but I read a statistic somewhere. Now, Alaska is huge, so I don't know if the statistic encompassed all of Alaska, but it said that Alaska was drier statistically than the Sahara Desert, which is really interesting, but it certainly explains why like my feet are cracking and they're like zero humidity, which is really interesting.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a different beast here, man. It is a different beast here.
Does everybody have Jeeps?
There's a few people with Jeeps. Surprisingly, there's probably, well, maybe not. Probably not surprising. You see a lot of people on dog sleds though. So that I always joke around when everybody's like, why don't you leave Alaska? It's like, man, I got to take like a bush plane and I got to get on like 2 dog sleds and then I have to trek for like 15 miles through the snow and the ice and the cold. But real estate speaking though, it is like 30 years behind the times. Like people up here are still waiting to figure out that Nirvana isn't even a band. Like it is the craziest thing up here. People like don't know what wholesaling is. I mean, forget about creative finance. So it's like I said, it's literally like trying to build a business from Mars.
Wow.
Yeah, super interesting.
So when did you join Subto and what made you join?
Oh my gosh. So I joined like 3.5 years ago, maybe a little over 3.5 years ago in 2020, right when Pace started the mentorship. And before that, I got connected with a friend, a childhood friend that him and we grew up in a town in Idaho, and he and I hadn't spoken or seen each other in like 15, 20 years, somewhere in there. And so we're kind of just getting reconnected on Facebook. And as we're doing the whole thing, you know, what have you been up to? What have you been up to? How's the family? You got kids? Like, it's like, dude, we haven't seen each other, you know, since we were like 14 or 15. And he asked me at some point, he's like, hey, have you thought about getting into real estate? And I was like, yeah, I thought about getting my realtor's license when I used to live in Phoenix a few years ago. And it's like, no. It's like, I'm not talking about being a realtor. He's like, I'm talking about being an investor. And I was like, no, I hadn't even really thought about it, you know. And in my mind, you know, you've got to have money, you got to have all these resources and things to start investing in real estate. I was active duty Air Force at the time, and you can go, everybody here that's watching this now and that will be watching this or listening to this in the future, you guys can go look up and you can go see what people in the military are making. But he said that to me, and my first thought was, I was like, bro, I don't know if you know anything about people and what they make in the military, but it's not like I exactly have $100,000 in my pocket so that I can go buy a fourplex in Anchorage. And luckily, he was real patient with me, and he was like, you know what? I've got a meeting with some other investors later in the week. How about you just hop on and be a fly on the wall? And so that's kind of what started down that rabbit hole. And Sean, if I'm being completely honest with you, like, I didn't even want to jump into the meeting. I really only did it because I just met my friend. We could like
virtual
friendship. I didn't want it to be awkward. Yeah, it was virtual.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, he was in Utah, and this was just a Zoom meeting. And so I hopped in there. I started listening to all these people doing these amazing things. I mean, amazing was an understatement. They're doing some really cool shit, and they weren't using their own money or anything like that.
That was Pace's Zoom that you jumped on?
No, that wasn't Pace Zoom. That was a different mentorship, but that's what started the rabbit hole. And I remember this happened, at the beginning of 2020, like May, April, somewhere around there. And I remember I took like an entire month off of work to go through this. And as soon as I joined, Sean, it cost me $23,000. And when he told me that, I was like, wait a minute. You mean 2,300? And he's like, no, it's 23,000. I'm like, wow, like what an introduction to real estate and education. And I thought, man, you know what? If it'll make me an extra 6 figures this month, why not? And at this point, I'd never used any credit cards. I do nothing. So like I had to max out 2 credit cards to do this thing. And so it was really out of my comfort zone. And when I got in there, it was just a bunch of recorded videos. It was like 6 to 8, and they were like 6 to 8 hours long. Like it was ridiculous. And I took an entire month off of work to go through these. And like 2 or 3 weeks into it, I could tell right off the get-go, I wasn't going to be able to do anything with this. Anytime I go into the Facebook group and I'd post a question, there was no community. People would respond, and instead of helping me, they'd be like, well, did you go back and watch this video? I'm like, guys, I don't have 6 to 8 hours to go back and watch it. Can nobody like just answer my question for me real quick? Right. And you being in sub 2, had I posted that in sub 2, I would have had like 500 comments. Like, dude, Jesse, let's get on a phone. Let me text you. I've sent you a DM. Let's hop on a Zoom right now. I will walk you through this.
Yeah.
So it was right after that I came across Pace and joined sub 2 immediately after. Thank goodness.
What a difference, right?
Oh my gosh. Day and night. And it is completely unparalleled. There's no other place like it. Absolutely.
And way less expensive.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it should be worth 100 times what it is, honestly, the amount of value and everything that Pace delivers, and the ability to get in there and connect with people doing some really amazing things. It really is. It's unparalleled. I don't got to tell you that.
Yeah. Did you get to talk to the last one you were in? Did you ever have any communications with the leader of that group?
No, I haven't talked to anybody probably since I joined it. So yeah, three and a half years ago. That was the last time I used my login. Like basically it was just one of those things. It was just like it was a complete waste. I lost 23 grand right off the top. But I look at that like that's the dive that I had to take in order for my mind to commit the way that I needed to commit.
Right.
So that's how I look at it. Like, even though the program, the information for me anyway, was a complete wash. That's what forced me to figure out, how do I solve this problem now? I've dug myself so deep. I never used credit cards, so you can imagine, like, I felt like the worst husband in the world. I felt like the worst father in the world. I just put my family
Oh,
in this financial detriment, you know. And I didn't know anything about money or anything, but I was a saver. I was really good at saving money. Didn't use credit cards or anything like that. So taking that risk was a very big leap. And so going through the first 2 or 3 weeks and figuring out that, hey, I'm not going to be able to pay these credit cards off just through this program. I've got to figure something out. And thank goodness I ended up stumbling on across Pace right after that.
can't appreciate the sweet without the bitter, though, right?
Oh, 100%. Like I said, I'm not bitter about it at all. Like, it had to happen this way. Hindsight, for me to be able to
Yeah.
dive in and have that commitment. But after joining Subto, I mean, it gave me everything. It gave me the tools, the resources, the education, the knowledge, the skills, the confidence that I needed to grow my business, to understand that it's okay to fail, to take that leap, bet on myself. And, I was able to walk away from the military and just spend my time the way that I see fit. So it was absolutely worth it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. The community is the best part. I mean, and it's a community, not really a
It is.
mentorship or a coaching program, even though you get all of that wrapped into one.
You do.
So, yeah. So, do you have any advice for someone just starting out in Sub 2?
And Subto, oh yeah, 100%. When you join Subto, and it's not even just Subto, I'll say real estate. When you dive into the world of real estate, the problem with real estate, if there is one, this is the problem, is that there are too many ways to be successful in it.
Mm,
And with all the different ways you can be successful in real estate, Subto will literally give you every single one of those avenues that you need to be successful in real estate. So when you join, it's like getting hit with 10 fire hoses all at once in the mouth. And it's like, man, what do I do with all this information? How do I digest it? How do I organize it? Where do I start? I've joined something and I've got the keys to the castle now. But which door do I start with? And so
yeah.
taking some time to reflect, I think having some clarity on what it is that you're trying to accomplish is going to be a huge factor in getting you some traction and some momentum, and helping you filter out the information that is relevant and not relevant. So there's 2 things that I would suggest that anybody does who joins Subto. One, either get very clear on what it is you're trying to do, and you have to put the blinders on, and it's hard. You have to put the blinders on, and any Zooms, any information, even any phone calls, people reach out to you. You want to build your network, but at the same time, you need to be very intentional and cognizant with where your time is going. And sometimes it takes going through the motions of learning that, wow, I shouldn't have jumped on the Zoom, or I shouldn't have jumped on these phone calls, because now I'm 6 months into this and I'm still not where I want to be, or I'm 12 months into this and I'm still not where I want to be, or I still haven't done a Zoom and it's been 2 years. That's the type of stuff that's why, is because people don't have clarity on what it is they're needing to do and how to filter out the information. Anything and everything you would ever need to be successful, you can find it in Subto, but you need to have some clarity on where to start. So that's where I would say to start. That's option 1. Option 2 is, if you don't know what that looks like, if you don't know where you want to be successful yet, give yourself some time. I'd say give yourself some grace. Like, if somebody was to join Subto now, what day is it? Today's the November 16th. Okay, cool. So if somebody was joined today, I would say give yourself some grace, but give yourself a deadline and say, all right, by December 31st or by Christmas, that's at least long enough for you to get into the community, get involved with the Zooms, understand the modules, the information, the flow of everything, and just try to digest as much information as you can. Do anything and everything so that you can figure out what you like and what you don't like. But it's dangerous because people don't ever know where to stop. That's where you get the 6 months in and haven't done a deal yet, or 30 days in, haven't done it. You know what I mean? So you got to give yourself a deadline and say, all right, by Chris, I'm going to do anything and everything. I'm going to jump into every Zoom that I can. I'm going to talk to every person that I can. I'm going to do all of it. That's fine. But you have to give yourself a day that you're going to stop and make a decision on, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want 2024 to look like. And these are the people that I need to connect with. And this is how I need to start spending my time and the skills I need to be building in order for me to get there.
That's funny that you say that, because that's kind of exactly what I did, but just not by design. I went to the daily dials every single day, the West Coast and the East Coast, for 2 months, and did all kinds of stuff, got all kinds of information from Caroline, and I jumped in nightly dial a couple times and did this and that. And then after 2 months, I had my, my call board ready of things to say and everything. And then I just started diving in. And then I remember when I became a realtor, it's true what they say. They don't teach you how to be a realtor in real estate school. They just teach you what you need to know to pass the test. So when I became a realtor, I was like, this is crazy. Like, what do I do? Where do I go? So then somebody told me, well, why don't you join a team? The team will teach you everything you need to know. And then once you're good enough, you can go out on your own. And I was like, oh, okay. So remembering that, I joined a team, and then we started going from there, because there's so many moving parts. You definitely do not want to be so hungry for a deal or have deal fever that you just jump at the first thing, or you're trying to force a square peg into a round hole, because real estate is a serious business and you can get yourself in a lot of trouble financially, legally, all kinds of stuff if you don't do it right. So yeah, you should learn maybe 1 or 2 parts of the process, and then partner up with people who know the other parts of the process really well, and make sure you have all your bases covered. I would say don't expect to get a deal right away like that.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I think that sets such a huge precedence. I think a lot of people, I even actually had somebody tell me this verbatim, Jesse, I thought I was going to jump in here and I was going to be an overnight success. But there's a lot that you don't, you jump in, you're like, oh my gosh, wow, I actually don't know shit. And so I love that you said that, is, setting that precedence, jumping in here, not expecting to get a deal in 2 weeks or even in 30 days or even 6 months. If you can jump in here and do it right, remember, a doctor, how long does a doctor go to school for? And then he's got to start at the bottom of the toilet. I mean, this guy's like a decade into his damn life and he's just trying to figure shit out. You know what I mean? So real estate's the same way. Like everything is the same way. You don't just jump in and pick up a guitar and start, you become the next Eddie Van Halen in 2 weeks. So why would anything, be different? So I think it's really important. I love that you said that, set that precedence and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to incrementally do this, and I'm going to ensure that I have a solid foundation to launch from. So giving yourself some grace and going into it with the right mindset.
It's definitely a marathon. It's not a sprint. Definitely.
Absolutely. What'd you end up doing after the first 2 months of jumping into the daily dials?
Started making calls right away. So the first way that I started making calls, I jumped onto Shad's cold calling Zoom. And he has, a whole system set up. You know who he is, right? And
I've heard the name.
System. Yeah, he has a whole system set up, and he shows on that Zoom, he'll show the students his platform, and you can see live how many VAs he has in the system at a time. And some of them are on a call, some of them are on break, some of them are, whatever. And after showing the system and giving, students a script, he says, you can, email my assistant and you can tell them what time you're available, and you can jump in on the system and hop on the dialer and just start getting practice making calls. So I did that. And I think I signed up. Let me backtrack. If you're on there making calls and one of the calls that you make turns into a deal, you can get a piece of that. So it's like I was making calls on there. I jumped in. I was going to do like, I don't know, maybe 3 times a week, a couple hours a day or something like that, besides, making them on my own. And
Oh, so you could just jump in at your convenience then.
yeah. So because
Oh,
they have
cool.
so many licenses at a time that are being used by VAs for
Yep.
the dialer. So you
Hmm.
just tell them what time you're available and they'll just mark that time taken so
Oh, cool.
that a VA can't be on there. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
So jumped on there for my first 2-hour slot, and then he's like, "Okay, you're ready for stage 2." I said, "Wait, I only did one day." But I mean, to be fair, I'm a realtor, so I was used to kind of making calls. So he's like, "Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you're ready for the next step," and I was like, "But I wanted to get more practice."
How
Yeah,
different
that
are the
was
calls to sellers as an investor versus an agent?
um. So calls to sellers they're different. They're not really expecting it. My main thing is I've been doing like direct to agent. Um, there's a lot of good parts to reaching out to agents,
Hmm. Yep,
and also being an agent myself, that gives me some credibility with them. I
for
think
sure.
more so because they're just like, oh, somebody who understands what this job is like. That's the biggest thing. They know what my job is like. They know how this goes.
Right.
So, and a lot of mine, I keep in touch with agents, and circle back and follow up and stay in touch with them. And I'm like, if this deal it doesn't go through, just keep me in
Mhm.
mind for anything else that you might want my help with. I'm happy to do that. And that's kind of what last night was. I was following up that we were talking about before the show started. I was
Mhm.
following up with an agent and but yeah, that's how I got started on Shad system. That was like so awesome. I really appreciated that he does that.
Yeah, that is awesome. He's still doing it then, it sounds like?
Yeah, I think he
Oh,
is.
dope.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I
Really
also
cool.
recommended him to other people that were like, I need help. And I'm like, listen, this is what you do.
Dude, this is
He's
how you
got the
get
whole
started right
system
here.
set up. You just jump in and practice.
Yeah, that is really cool, especially, you earn as you learn, and it's just at your
Mhm.
convenience. I love that. That is really, really cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I was so Pace he started the Elephant Challenge last year. And right when he started, I think it was last July, June, or somewhere in that ballpark. And right when he started it, I was one of the elephant leaders. And I'm curious because obviously Elephant Challenge is all like basically DTA. So I'm curious from your perspective, how has it been? Because you mentioned credibility. When you call these realtors, and I keep seeing like everybody in the community, people post on their personal page about, hey, I called this realtor, and the first thing out of their mouth is, hey, you're not one of those other Pace Morby guys trying to pitch creative, is it? So the word's getting around. I'm curious from your perspective and with your credentials and credibility, how do those conversations go for you when you reach out and you are talking creative? Are you having the same experience that everybody else does who doesn't have that credibility that you do?
Not really. I don't have that issue when I'm making calls. I put 100% of my attention, I mean, my attention and intention
Hmm.
into learning what they say. I'm a firm believer of don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
So I listened very carefully to everything they were teaching. Plus, I think a little bit of it comes with age. But one of the things that you have to keep in mind is, and I understand that when people are new on the phones that they're a little bit nervous and stuff, but basically you just got to think of your audience. You got to be
Uh-huh.
concentrating on your audience and not I want to get this deal, I want to do some business. If you
Yeah.
concentrate on your audience, that one thing right there is so golden. You'll get everywhere. I've even like counseled some other people on direct to agent strategies, and it's not really a strategy, but if you say, "Hey, I might be a buyer for your listing, give me a call back at this number so,
Hmm.
we can talk about it."
Yeah.
They want to sell the property, but that hasn't really been my experience. You know, you just a couple things you just got to keep in mind with agents. They're in a rush. You know, when you talk to them, it has to be purposeful, it has to be short, sweet, and to the point.
Hmm.
It has to be, you know, you get only the information that you need um to see if it's a good sale. I mean, a good fit for, you know, you to be a buyer.
Hmm.
And that's it, really. I mean, if
That's
you
interesting. So one of the things that I have found, I'm so glad we're having this conversation. One of the things that I have found that has worked extremely well for me, like probably 70% of the time that I have to call an agent and do creative. Here's the thing that I do, and it sounds like it aligns with kind of everything you just said about how realtors like to communicate. I didn't have that context, but it kind of makes sense, and it might explain why my conversion rate is a little bit higher than probably most people's when it comes to creative. I soon figured out, and it didn't take long to understand that when you reach out to an agent and the first thing you start talking about is creative financing, you start throwing out words like creative financing or subject
Mhm.
to or terms or seller financing, throwing out things that these realtors don't have any idea what the hell you're talking about. And so they're kind of like trigger words where there's a saying, a confused mind
Always
says
says
no.
no. Mhm. Yeah.
So one of the things that I started doing when I talk to agents, and it kind of goes along with what you were saying with agents, they're very busy. They just want there was an acronym that we used to use in the Air Force. It was called BLUF, BLUF, and it stands for bottom line up front. Like, hey, just give me the quick and dirty on this. What is it that you need?
An upfront contract.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And so one of the things I used to tell the agent, obviously I would always try to go in and pitch cash first before I went creative. But then when they told me that cash didn't work, I said, "Well, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, it sounds like I'm not your cash buyer. However, we do buy properties a handful of different ways. And if your clients would be open to something a little less conventional, I would
Mm,
love to maybe hop on a phone call with you and your clients and let's just go over what a couple of those options might even look like. Of course, I can cover closing costs and your commissions. Is that something you'd be opposed to?"
right.
And when I word it like that, more often than I'd probably say I'm around 70%. They might have a couple questions, um, but most of the time it's like, yeah. And as a matter of fact, I'll take it one step further. One of the things I love doing is getting them on a Zoom, because then you got their guard down. You can see, we can laugh and interact and joke and all these kind of things. You know, most of your communicate, like 80% of your communication is all nonverbal. So it really helps
Mhm.
lower that guard, and it allows me to be able to talk directly to the seller and overcome those objections directly, while at the same
Mhm.
time, you know, allowing the realtor to feel like they're in control and still fulfilling their fiduciary responsibilities without me going around them, type of deal. So that's
Right.
really interesting.
So they're basically worried about three main things. Number one, are they going to get paid? Number two, they need to look like a professional who has their clients' trust, because they are and they do.
Hmm.
And number three, it has to be a win-win situation for everybody involved. Um,
Beautiful.
so if you just keep those like three things in mind when you're talking to them and kind of gear them around that, and then just remember that they're in a hurry. And
Yeah.
if somebody's not in a hurry and has a lot of time to chit chat, they probably don't have a lot of deals to do with you in the first place. I mean, we're both talkers, right?
Yeah.
I'm guilty for being caught in a casual conversation with agents. And I'm like, this was supposed to be 5 minutes, and here I am talking to this person 30 minutes. But on the same token, I did build a relationship with them and I keep in touch
Mhm.
with them, you know, but
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
how
we'll
did
see.
how did this all convert to what you're doing right now? Like, are you still making calls? Is that like your avatar? Or like, did you? Okay.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Oh yeah. So before, when I first went to join Subto,
Hmm.
I was like, okay, um I don't have that chunk of money ready at this moment, but I knew I definitely wanted to do it. So then I came across one of Jerry Norton's advertisements. So once I discovered Pace, it's kind of impossible not to also discover Jerry Norton and Jamil Damji.
Yep. And Brent
So
Daniels, the whole gang.
I was like, I love all three of these guys, but Pace is the one that I'm here with. I totally, I'm vibing with him.
Yep.
I was like, oh, I don't have that to join the community first. I did the elephant challenge. I think I was on the second or third one that they ever did.
Okay.
I don't know how far back they go, but
So what was that, like September maybe time frame? Does that line up about right or no?
it was 22. I think it was like the winter of 22, like in the
Okay,
beginning
yeah.
of the year ish, maybe. Yeah, because then I ended up finally joining in April. Wait a minute,
Oh, okay.
April of
Of
this year.
23.
Wait a
Gotcha.
minute, no, you're right. It probably was like the end of 2022, and then I ended up joining this April.
Gotcha.
So I came across something that Jerry Norton was doing, and I guess it was to just uh it was the 10K club. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Uh-uh.
Yeah,
Does it
this
have to
thing,
do
and
with
it was
running a
like
10K?
$1,000, and he gives you all the tools and everything that you need,
Uh-huh.
including the software, the data cruncher, and all that kind of stuff. And you get basically you're getting properties under contract, and you submit them to him and his team for an assignment fee of 10K. Right.
Okay.
So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I'll do this. And then that'll help me get the money together to join Pace's community.
Mhm.
And then I shortly after that, I realized, oh, I can make payments. So I can join Pace's community right now. So I kind of forgot about that. But then once I got in and started learning everything and I was ready to really get to work, I
Mhm.
was like, oh, I totally forgot I got this software over here that I'm from Jerry. So let me use that so that doesn't go to waste. So then I
Right.
started using the software that I already had. And that's how I've been doing and I love how he figures it out. His old data cruncher is based on, when you have in Baltimore, Maryland, where I am, there's
Uh-huh.
a lot of different styles of homes. I'm not in the city, but the more you get out towards the suburbs, it's all different styles of homes. And so in order to be able to come up with a good ARV and
Mhm.
comps and stuff, sometimes you gotta take it by the average price per square foot in the immediate area, and that's how that software works.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's really, really good. Use that system a lot. So that's
Beautiful.
what I'm using.
Gotcha. Okay. And it's just you, or have you started building a team? Or are you part of a team or?
I joined a team. So when I started getting to work and I realized, oh, these Zooms are great and everything, and I was making all kinds of contacts and stuff. But there's just nothing can replace in-person type meeting. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
really need to
Tell
get
me about it.
to a meetup.
Yeah.
So I went to a meetup and I met this mother and daughter Subto duo, I guess you could say.
Uh-huh.
And the mom, Stacy, shout out to Stacy and Jael Thomas. They are phenomenal. I love them. She just came right up to me and I was like, "Oh, hi." She loves newbies, and she just came right up to me and she was very friendly and sweet, and she was like, "Anything you need, just call us. We'll help you." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna take you up on that." And so I talked to them and I was like, I really think I should like join the team because I'm good with some things, but I still need to learn the process on some other things. It's like there's a lot of differences between, this and being a realtor.
Uh-huh.
And the daughter is actually a realtor. So they were like, you know what? That's so funny you say that because we were just getting ready to put a team together. So I'm like ground zero. I was team member number one besides them.
Oh,
And now I
wow.
think we have like a dozen people in there.
Phenomenal. Amazing.
Yes. They made
I
me
love that.
team lead. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm team lead. So they're
Awesome.
working
Amazing.
like Yeah, they work heavily on the raising the capital part and,
Uh-huh.
things like that. And I'm the one of the only, I think there's one other direct to agent person, and the other people are like doing direct to seller type thing.
Got it. Okay. And you guys are doing just your local market, or are you doing like nationwide stuff or various markets?
So I think they will consider anything nationwide, but mostly I'm in the DMV market,
Uh-huh.
which is I think DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Okay.
So we're doing our market, but I personally, my secondary markets are the Carolinas.
Hmm.
That's where I wanna migrate to.
Ooh, I love the Carolinas. I love Carolinas.
Right?
I went and visited a friend. He took me to Carolina Beach. His parents had a beach house there a couple of years ago. We went and visited. Super dope. I mean, being in Alaska, I never been over to that side of the country before. So, as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I remember when somebody said DMV, I'd never heard DMV. I grew up in Idaho. I was on the west side. You know what I mean? Like, and then I went to Alaska, and then I'm like, who the hell is at the DMV right now? That's what I thought people were
Right,
doing. The Department of Motor Vehicles. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
right.
DMV is an area
Usually it stands
over in
for
the
Delaware,
Northeast.
Maryland, and Virginia, but in this case, it's DC. Maybe it's both DC and Delaware in sub
Gotcha.
too, but yeah.
Well, the
So,
more you
the
know.
huh?
I said the more you know. That's public education for you.
Right. Yeah. Carolinas are my second market because that's where I want to end up. And also looking in Ohio. My
Okay.
son lives up there and he works for Google. So I'm like, let me get some properties in both of those areas, Ohio and the Carolinas. And, eventually I'll come across the house that's, you know what? I like this one. I think I'm going to keep this one and live here
100%.
or
Where
even
at in
go back and
Ohio?
forth. Huh?
Where at in Ohio?
Oh, so he lives just north of 270 in Columbus. It's like one of
Got it.
those beltway roads, and Columbus is right in the middle of it.
Hmm.
And then he's just outside of that on the top. He lives real close to Google.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody that I know, I didn't know this. Ohio was one of the first markets I started out investing in. Ohio and Georgia and Florida were the three markets that we started out investing in. And I didn't know anything about Ohio, but it was the craziest thing. Like out of everywhere in the country, I remember all of during the pandemic, all of 2020, seemed like it was the one place in the entire country you could still go and get a property for 15 G's.
Wow.
Everybody else was, their $100,000 house turned into $1 million, but you could still go to Cleveland, Ohio, and pick up a property for 15 grand. But I
Wow.
soon learned it was kind of a hard market to work. I soon learned. I spent a lot of time in Cleveland. I was like, dude, like, how come I'm not finding any buyers? And then come to find out, at least from what I was told, and still stands true to this day, Cleveland's a hard market, and there are certain pockets in Cleveland that are good, but anything outside of those pockets are really, really hard. And so I kept hearing about people talking about investing in Ohio, investing in Ohio. I'm like, where's everybody in Ohio investing? Because it's not Cleveland, maybe a few in Cincinnati, not really any in Youngstown, and everybody's like Columbus. I'm like, oh, well, that's where I'll go then.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's awesome. That's great. You got your son that's there, and you got boots on the ground already.
Yeah.
Great market.
Yeah, it is. Everybody loves the Carolinas too. I'm looking kind of more towards the coast though. We got a lot of people in like Raleigh, and then we got people in Charlotte. I think Charlotte, South Carolina, right? Um, but yeah, I'm more looking like down the coast, anywhere from like just south of the Outer Banks where like Emerald Isle is, like all the way down to like Myrtle Beach.
Okay. Well, if you ever
Yeah.
decide to, get the bug to really try something new, there's a lot of land over here in Alaska. We could be neighbors. So just
Dude,
throwing that
when
out
it
there.
is
You want to be next to
72
the
degrees,
water?
72 degrees, I'm cold.
You'll make it through a winter, man. You'll be all right. You'll be 72 degrees after a winter here. You'll be like, this is all right. This is
I
this is
have an
pretty hot.
ex that has a dog team here, and we don't get snow. We haven't got a lot of snow in a while.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we've had our snowstorms in the past, but it's
Mhm.
like hit or miss here in the wintertime. Some
Mm.
winters we'll barely have anything, and then other winters we'll have like a double blizzard. I don't
Oh,
know if it's like a
wow.
cycle type thing or what. Yeah, I remember when my son was like 8 or 9, we had a double blizzard. So we got like 3 feet of snow, and then not even a week later, I think it was a few days later, we got another 3 feet of snow. So it
Oh
was
my
like when
gosh.
the snow was all the way up to the top of the fence, we were like, "What?"
Haven't seen a winter like that since, I'm assuming.
No, no, we haven't. But I heard that down in North Carolina, if there's just a dusting of snow,
Uh-huh.
everything shuts down because they don't have the resources. They don't have the salt for the roads saved up, and they don't have the snow plows and stuff like that. So,
That makes sense. I used to be stationed in the Air Force in a place in New Mexico. And I remember one winter that we probably had like you said, a dusting. It was probably like a half an inch, maybe an inch of snow that was on the road. And you never get snow there. But we did that year, and everybody was like freaking out. Everyone's like, "Stay off the roads! Like, do not come into work!" And like, it was the crazy. I mean, it was all melted within 3 or 4 hours later. It was the craziest thing. But yeah, it's nuts. There's a place just north of me. It's actually called the North Pole. So where Santa is, North
oh
Pole,
yeah,
Alaska.
Santa. You
Yeah,
guys are
it's about
buds, right?
yeah. I know we got Mount Crumpet just east of me. So I got the Grinch over here. I got Santa just north of me. And we took our kids up to see Santa in I think it was in September. So it was the craziest thing. Like this place, it's called the North Pole. It's an actual town in Alaska. And even like the lights in like the McDonald's parking lot, like the parking lot street lights were all painted candy cane like year round. Like it's Christmas year round there. It is the coolest thing.
Oh
But what's
wow.
interesting is there's a place. So it's called North Pole, and then there's a town like literally right next to it. They like basically butt into each other, called Fairbanks. And in that area is no other place matches it weather-wise or climate-wise in the entire world. During the winter, it can get now this doesn't happen like all the time, but in the winter it can get as low as negative 100 degrees. But in the summer, it can get up to 100 degrees in the summer. So it's the only place in the world
What?
that has that great of a temperature fluctuation. It's the craziest thing.
Does
So,
it
like I
have
said,
like direct sun or something or
I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's the craziest thing. It's super cold during the winter. And like I said, it gets above 70 degrees, it gets well above 70 degrees there during the summer. So thank goodness, I'm glad where I'm at. But it's a little more inland than where I'm at. Anchorage is right there on the water and on the inlet. So it's a little more mainland. So maybe that's why we got a little bit more of a Seattle type weather, I guess you could say.
well, if Santa ever needs a new workshop, he knows where to go. Just call Jesse.
That's right.
He can get it for you in creative finance, Santa.
100%. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's
Uh,
it's a really crazy experience living here, though, for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't mind something down in your neck of the woods, or maybe something down in the Carolinas. Beat me
yeah,
up, Scotty.
I don't remember where it was the other day, but I think it maybe it was on the Zoom with you or something. When we were talking about somebody's dog got picked up by an eagle.
Oh, it was my
And
dog.
yeah, your dog. And then I brought up
Yeah.
that movie. Remember that movie with Sandra Bullock?
Oh, yeah. The proposal. That's what we were talking about. The proposal. Yeah.
I was
This
like, that can't be real. This has got to be a movie thing. But then when I heard you say it, I was like, what?
yeah. I mean, I didn't see it, and I didn't know any of this was like my Yorkie was torn to shreds, and it was a vet that was like, it was the vet up here that was like, dude, like he just like here's where the puncture wounds and everything are around his stomach. I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane.
These birds are like descendants of the dinosaurs or something, aren't they?
Oh my
I mean,
gosh, some of these eagles up here are bigger than my 2-year-old, man. They are nuts, crazy.
oh my God. Do you have to worry
Yeah.
about your kids? Would they ever pick up a kid?
I haven't seen him pick up a kid, but I mean, we have like moose and stuff in our yard all the time, all year round, which is really, really cool. So my kids love that. You just need to be cognizant of that. So it's been a neat experience for them to be able to be up here and have those skills and situational awareness.
So lots of Abercrombie and Fitch going around. That was my daughter's first job.
Do what?
That was my daughter's first job. She worked
for real?
Abercrombie and Fitch. Yeah.
I worked at Hollister in high school. Imagine that.
There you go. And my son, that's all he wore. I don't even know if they're still around. Are they still around? They're like the same.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Wow.
Good question.
Yeah. I remember that. So what are some of your interests and passions outside of Subto?
Man,
besides rock and roll, it looks like in the background there.
Oh my gosh, I love music. Music has been such a huge part of my life. I got a guitar when I was 10 years old, and I've been just in countless bands, and we've recorded music. We've done like little mini tours. We've been on the local radio station, a couple of internet and satellite radio stations. So it's been a lot of fun. I love music. Much like starting a band, there's a lot of similarities between starting a band and starting a business. You're trying to filter out, when you're going to have band practice, and the commitment of the people that you bring in. There's so many similarities that go in mindset that goes into starting a band and starting a business that has been really interesting. I never thought that those two things would be so similar, but outside, I mean, I haven't really played music a whole lot. Honestly, my passion since jumping into real estate, as cool as real estate is, the last 3.5 years of my 14-year Air Force career, before I got out, I was an instructor. And so the Air Force paid for me to go down to Texas and learn how to be a professional instructor and a mentor and a coach and a teacher. And so that's what I did the last 3.5 years of my Air Force career. And that was really where I found out that that's what I love doing. And as cool as real estate is, and it has completely changed my entire financial, stability, the coaching and the instructing and the mentoring, and like, that's where my true passion is. That's what I really love doing. And so honestly, that's what my hobby is. That's what my hobby is. Like, I am literally just obsessed. I'm obsessed. I'll say it. I'm obsessed. It takes up all of my time. I'm always thinking of new ways or different ways to articulate or communicate something, or just to increase that user experience to my clients and the people that I'm helping. And I love it. That takes up all my time. I really don't have any hobbies outside of working. I truly love doing it. But the cool thing about it is, when I first got into real estate, I was wearing all the hats. And this kind of goes back to a conversation you and I were having on Saturday. When I first joined Subto, I was wearing all the hats. I was doing all the things, and it was exhausting. So as I've kind of found my passion and where my superpowers are, what my avatar is, where the highest return on investment for my time, energy, and effort is, that's what I pour into. And I would do it regardless of whether or not I got paid or not. So it's cool that I found a way to monetize that.
Yeah. So do you have a team that kind of runs your real estate while you do this coaching thing, or?
Yes, I do. I've got teams that I built on both businesses. You have to when you want to scale, at least as big as what we're wanting to scale. So I'm very fortunate in that way that I have found people that I can rely on, and brought people into my business that's their superpower. What they're doing and what they're contributing to helping me is that's their superpower, and they don't have to wear all the hats or anything either. So they're focused on one thing. I'm focused on one thing, and everything is just growing. Everything is just, it's really awesome. So
nice.
Yeah,
how many people do you have on your team?
On my real estate business? So we were wholesaling the last, I've been doing this for 3.5 years. So I guess up until maybe 8 weeks ago, we were wholesaling. Picked up a couple properties here and there just because they, kind of fell on our lap. But we intentionally dissolved our wholesaling business probably about 8 weeks ago and just went into buying and holding. So we've just been on a buying spree ever since. So I dissolved the wholesaling business. We got rid of our acquisitions team, our dispositions, all that. And we basically kind of started over. And with this buy and hold spree that we've just been on, we purchased $1 million in real estate 2 weeks ago. Last week, we probably got another 2 or 3 million of properties, under contract. I think we closed on one yesterday. And so it's just been that's just kind of where we've gone. But our whole team is just me and my business partner. He lives in New York. And then we've got an operations manager who's kind of helping us underwrite and oversee and getting in touch with the contractors, the realtors, the title companies, the servicing companies, setting up insurance, all that kind of fun stuff. So that's really it. Just the three amigos, three musketeers. And then we've got a couple other people that we are partnering. We will be partnering with as we go into 2024. Two other people.
So it's mostly Alaskan properties, or is it like?
No, we sold our last Alaskan property, I think in July or August. And so 99% of the stuff I do is outside of Alaska.
Oh, okay.
It's actually all over the place. Are you ever going
to come back and join us on the mainland?
I don't know. We were thinking about it. My wife loves it up here. I mean, the kids love it up here. I mean, I love it up here. The winters are kind of tough with the darkness and everything, but we got December 21st is the winter solstice. So as soon as December, which means that it's the shortest day of the year. So as soon as December 22nd hits, we start gaining daylight, about 3 to 5 minutes of daylight every single day.
Oh,
so between December 21st and June 21st, June 21st is a summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year. So how this works is from December 22nd all the way until June 21st, we gain 3 to 5 minutes of daylight every single freaking day.
Wow.
And then as soon as June 22nd hits, the next day after the summer solstice, between June 22nd and December 21st, we start losing 3 to 5 minutes of sunlight every day.
Wow. So what's the shortest day that you have of the year?
December 21st. You mean like daylight ways?
I mean, how long is it? Is what I mean. How long?
It depends on where you are in Alaska. So there's a place called like Barrow, Alaska. That's kind of just at the tip top part of Alaska. I think the sun goes down. I think maybe today or tomorrow. I think the sun will go down for the last time, and they won't see the sun again until February or something like that. So it's literally like
it's complete darkness for a couple of months there.
100%. But I'm not that far north, so I don't experience it quite that bad. It'll probably, the sun usually comes up maybe around 10:30, and then it'll go back down around 3:30-ish, 3:45, maybe somewhere in there. It'll start going back down. But it's not like the sun, like if this is the horizon, it's not like the sun's coming up in the sky and then like it just goes back down in a shorter time. Like just rides this horizon, and it gets closer and closer to not coming up. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's an interesting experience for sure.
Half of this podcast is turning into everything that you ever wanted to know about Alaska. So in your spare time, are you in like a pool league with Santa or something?
I need to for sure. You need to create some sort of competition between him and the Grinch, and maybe we can kind of figure out how we're going to monetize on this thing,
Or maybe some of the elves, you have those shorter pool tables.
There we go. Yeah, something, man. Something. I think you're onto something. I'll definitely keep you in the loop with what I come up with.
Yeah. Oh, geez. So I feel like you're a visionary. You're a visionary, obviously, right?
Yeah. Guilty.
Are you partnered with an integrator?
I'm not. No, in both businesses, I'm not partnered with an integrator. Both businesses, I have a visionary as a partner.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen that I feel like there's a lot more visionaries, especially in Subto, than there are integrators.
Yeah.
Well, at least you're going to know visionary, because they're going to be out there. Everybody knows them. They're very people oriented. So, you know, they're not very hidden.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Integrators like over here, just taking notes on the side.
Man, if you're an integrator, you better let everybody know you're an integrator, because you just have an all access pass to anything you want to do.
Oh, yes, they're golden.
Yeah. The last is I've gone through a couple different partnerships since I've been in Subto, and you know, you figure out what works and what doesn't work, and you, with each experience, you learn what you like and what you don't like and what you're looking for in a partner and all that kind of stuff. And as my current partner, Chris, my current and last partners, he and I got together last year. We've been partners for about 18 months now. And when he and I got together last year, it was just kind of one of those things. I think mindset had a lot to do with it. It was kind of one of those things where, because in previous partnerships, I had integrators in both partnerships, but I had integrators because I was under the impression that that's how it was supposed to be. That's what needed to be done. And so that's what I looked for. And I didn't filter out everything correctly the way that I should have. And I didn't communicate effectively as I should have. I mean, I could have been a better partner as well. It's not like it was all on them. I definitely take full responsibility. But one thing that's really stood out when Chris and I got together was his mindset. Like, we were just both so in sync with what we wanted to do and how we were going to do it. And not only that, him and I were both willing to do anything and everything it took for us to be able to get there. So it didn't matter if it was like, hey, we need to build a website. Something like that is something that, you know, an integrator would typically take responsibility for. But him and I don't know how to build a website. So either him and I were going to figure it out to make sure that it got done, because that website also served as our landing page, or we were just going to find somebody and pay somebody to build the website to go ahead and get this thing done. And so even though we didn't have an integrator, there are things in the business that still need to be done from an integrator, somebody with that type of, you know, experience or passion for those projects. So him and I were it was just a mindset thing. It was like, dude, this is where we want to be. We're not sacrificing. We're not stopping. And I'm willing to do anything and everything it takes in order to get to this point. And I was like, all right, cool, dude, I'm sold, because I'm the exact same way. So that's how it's been the last 18 months. And and it's been cool, because with that mindset, we continue pushing each other. And each, you know, year is the goals just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's been really, really awesome. He's been a phenomenal partner. I couldn't have lucked out. I couldn't have asked for anybody better.
That's
very fortunate.
Awesome.
But if my filter was in,
how much did he pay you to say that? I'm just kidding. Is he watching?
My filter was looking for an integrator like it was the last two partnerships that I had, I would have met Chris and I just would have shut him down. I would have been like, yo, dude, you're cool, man, but I need an integrator. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it would have put me in a position where I would have settled. So,
right. So that's probably what you were talking about when you were saying knowing what your avatar is and which avatars match up.
Yeah.
We should write a book together.
Dude, let's do it. I actually just started a book with my clients. It's called Buy Back Your Time. By I think his name is Dan Martell. Read it with us. We just started it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like halfway through High Performance Habits right now by Brendan Burchard.
Brendan Burchard. Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Burchard?
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, that was like way too Americanized the way I said it.
No, you're good. Yeah, that's
everything pronunciation.
I love that book. Really great book.
Yeah, he's also got a planner. I got the planner that goes with it too.
Beautiful.
So
well, when you get done reading it, throw that one on. Buy Back Your Time. Pace actually did an interview with him. I think it was last week with Dan Martell, and the interview is really, really good. So that's what made me want to buy it. So it's actually me and everybody in my cohort, all my clients, like we're all reading it together and going through it and talking about it. So it's pretty cool.
I just got the Jim Quick Limitless expanded edition. He just had a book launch for the expanded edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just got that one not too long ago. That's what I had on my.
I'm gonna write that.
Have that on my list too.
Yeah. Thank you for
And I
sharing that.
went to like this seminar thing that he had. It
Mhm,
was just like a few hours or whatever.
mhm,
And from that seminar, I found John Lee. Do you know who he is? He was on there
mhm,
and he had a seminar available and I took that today. That was from like 1 to 4 today.
mhm.
Whoa.
Yeah? Was it good?
What? Oh my gosh, yes.
What was
Of
the
course,
one
they
what
all
was the
have
one
another.
takeaway?
What was that?
Give me one takeaway from it.
It was he specializes in online presences and building followers and like having subscriptions for just your business in general. Um
Mm,
so it was all about that. And of course, they give away really good information on these things, but then there's
yeah.
all usually, more in-depth program that you could buy on that same thing. But wow, the stuff that he was saying, I was just like, whoa, 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 this is nuts. This is insane. Yeah.
Amazing.
So I can't wait to really dive into that. I want to organize my notes before I forget them while it's still fresh in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's definitely link up. I'd love to hear more about that once you have had a second to kind of organize and prioritize those notes and figure out how you're going to implement that information.
Yeah, and I'm really serious about a book for like visionaries, integrators, and avatars matching up for business partners. Dude, if that is like probably one of the top, if not the top need of people in the Subto community, and not
Hmm.
just in the community, but beyond. I mean, if we sold one copy, there's like what, over 12,000 people in our community right now. I can't even keep
Yeah.
track. It
Yeah.
grows exponentially so fast.
Absolutely.
But so many people are needing that right now.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
totally agree. Absolutely. Yep. There's it's easy to get caught up. I think most people it's easy to get really caught up in the process of things. Like if
mhm,
you're wanting, like, I'll give a quick example. If somebody's wanting to buy a house, people join a community. People get into real estate because they want to own real estate. But in their head, the first thing they got to do is, well, I got to get into wholesaling first because I don't have any money. So I
mhm,
need to build a wholesaling business. And then their goals that they're setting out are, well, I need to start at $10,000 a month. That's my goal. And then once I hit 10,000 a month, then I'll scale up to 20 grand a month. And then 40 grand and 50 grand and 75 grand and 100 grand. And then I will take that money and I'll start buying my own houses. And so they
mhm,
start spinning their wheels and spending all this time and energy and effort and money on the systems, the skip tracing, the CRMs, the dialers, the all the things, right?
mhm,
And they'll go through the motions of trying to figure out what's working, what's not working. Am I with the right people? Am I not with the right people? How come I know because I went through it. As soon as I joined Subto, I lost 15 grand, like just in, I don't know, maybe 3 months because I hired a VA. I was skip tracing uh prospects of like 15, 20,000 lists. And at 10 cents a pop, that's 1,500 to 2 grand a month that I was spending. And I
yeah,
wasn't properly training my VA. I didn't have any of this information. I didn't know any of this information. I didn't know how to prioritize avatars. That wasn't even a thing when I joined Subto. So I didn't know how to prioritize like what I should be focused on, what the highest and best return on my investment was with regard to my time and my money. And like you said, like learning about all these other avatars and how I can be connecting with them and actually growing my business instead of putting myself in a position where I'm working in my business and I'm wearing all the hats. So I
mhm,
totally agree with everything you said. I think that is information that is not only applicable to real estate investors, but just business in general. I mean, it's the exact same formula. Pace is doing the zero down thing. That's business
mhm,
buying. And he's doing it because the exact same way that he's learned to run his real estate business with regard to communicating, delegating, accountability, and providing structure and SOPs and having the right people in place. Cody's obviously a big part of that. Tracking the KPIs, all that kind of fun stuff.
mhm,
All of those are universal strengths and skills that can be applied to growing anything. That's why he's able to go buy a bowling alley or a mini golf place or, whatever, and just grow it exponentially. And because of that, who, not how.
Right. Right. Exactly. Eventually, I think that another good book to do would be how to get started and build momentum when joining the community.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. There could be a little bit more clarity and direction on, like, there needs to be like this is step 1. This is step
right.
2. This is step 3.
Exactly. Yes.
I think you're onto something. Why don't we, why don't we should start something like that.
Yeah. That's the visionary in me. I mean, I get so many ideas a day. If I can just hold on to half of them, then I feel lucky. You know.
I know some people over at New Reach. Maybe we put something together and then throw it by them and see what they think.
Yeah. As you mean as far as like a book goes, or
Something, just some sort of information or Zooms or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I say let's do it. And thank you for your service, by the way. I have an Air Force family. Yeah. My 2 sisters were in the Air Force. They're both retired out. We're
Love
old.
it.
No, we're not.
Air
We're not
Force.
old yet. I'm like 52. I don't care who I tell, but yeah. So I'm not old yet, but you kind of, every time you get to 40 or then 50, you feel like you're old, but then when you look back, you're like, well, that wasn't old. This is
100%.
old.
I thought you and I were the same age.
How you got to be younger. How we are the same age, or you thought we were?
I thought you and I were the same age.
Oh, how sweet. How old are you, if you want to tell me?
33.
Nuh-uh. No, you're not. Are you 33?
I'm 33.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, dude, I have a daughter older than you.
Is that right?
Yes. My oldest one's 34. Yeah.
Oh, love it. Beautiful.
So, yeah. So, I think that pretty much does it. Do you have, how can people get a hold of you? I put your Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channel. These
Thank
are all
you.
ways that you can get a hold of Jesse. Your real estate business, if people have like deals that they want to sell to you or whatever, is that the Third Eye? What's that one that I saw?
Oh, the email address?
Third Eye, Third Mind REI or something
Third
like
Mind
that.
REI, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That you come up with the coolest names. It's kind of a takeoff of Third Eye Blind or something, right? The group.
Let me actually share this. Let me look this up real quick and let me read this off to you. It was actually kind of a cool it was kind of a cool thing that we did to come up with this. I'm trying to think of it came from a chapter within Think and Grow Rich. I'm gonna have to look this up because let me see if you got 2 seconds. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Think and Grow Rich.
And then while you're looking for that, if anybody wants to bring Jesse some properties, he will look at anything creative finance, single family, multi-family, as long as it's not in Illinois. And for the audience, can you please tell us what you have against Illinois?
I don't know, probably for the same reason that nobody else wants to invest in blue states. They're just not typical, they're not landlord friendly.
Yeah. So you'll do California?
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
We'll look at it for sure.
So, and then also like Texas and Florida, though, the insurance is just getting crazy for those 2 states right now.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah, they are.
I mean, some of the PITIs, like the insurance and it's more than the actual mortgage payment, the insurance and the taxes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We had a handful of properties in Louisiana that we were going to pull the trigger on, and the insurance quotes we got in Louisiana were just insane. I did not anticipate that.
Wow, Louisiana.
Louisiana, yeah.
I wonder if it's been like that ever since the Hurricane Katrina.
I don't. That's actually a good question. I'm not sure how long they've been that high, but yeah, we recently within the last. I mean, we made this pivot 2 months ago, so within the last 4 to 6 weeks, probably, we had a handful of properties in Louisiana. I think we own some property in Louisiana. I think some of them we pulled the trigger on, but yeah, the insurance in those states is just killing it. It's
Yeah,
killing a lot of the
it
stuff.
is. I
Oh,
wonder
here it
what
is.
the reason for Texas is. Go ahead.
I don't know. That's a good question. I found this. So it's called the mastermind. It's the mastermind portion of that book, Think and Grow Rich by
Mhm.
Napoleon Hill. Have you heard that one? Or have you read
No.
it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you have to read it. It's a really good one. It's kind of like a
It's
staple. Everybody knows that one. Everybody's read it.
Yeah, I think I
Um
have it, downloaded. I have so many books downloaded on Audible ready to go, and I just haven't got to that one yet.
Oh, it's a really good one. There's a part in there that he talks about like the mastermind principle. And it says it is a coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. A mastermind group is a peer-to-peer. And then it goes on to say, no two minds will ever come together without thereby creating a third, invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind.
Oh,
So when
okay.
two people come together in a spirit of harmony for the attainment of a definite purpose, they never come together without thereby creating a third invisible intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind.
So
So that's
maybe
where our
that's
business mind came from. Third mind REI.
wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You just seem like you have
Outstanding.
so much knowledge and so much professionalism. Um, that's why I thought you were a little bit older. You definitely don't look it for sure, but
Oh, well, thanks.
yeah. You look young, yeah. But you know what I mean? You just have so much knowledge and so much professionalism, and you're just like so mature and
Well, I did 14 years in the Air Force, so most people, most 18-year-olds are doing other stuff. So, when you throw yourself in that type of an environment and you got deployments and things like that, you grow up pretty quick.
yeah, you do. You do grow up fast. Yeah, you've seen some stuff there. Plus, you're living in Alaska, so that's no
Yeah,
joke.
yeah,
You
yeah.
got a lot of wildlife to worry about up
I got to
there?
go forage for my own food right after
Right.
this. So I got to go kill a moose so my family can eat tonight.
And you got a battle of bears, so you can have some salmon for dinner.
That's right. Yeah, wrestling bears during the summer for my salmon. So
Right.
yeah, you grow up quick up here.
Cool.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
You're so welcome. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. All right. So definitely let's get together and talk about how we can do that partner, find your business partner type thing and all the
I
stuff
would
that we
love
were
that.
talking about. Yeah,
Let's do it.
definitely. Yeah, there's a dire need for that.
100%. Yep. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you, Jesse.
Have a good one.
Bye, everybody. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.